We recently counted down the greatest Disney inventions of all time. And we started off with the multiplane camera because it completely transformed animation. So the first one is the multiplane camera. And this is probably pretty well known if you are a fan of Disney animation, because the multiplane camera was kind of what Disney was famous for back in the day. The history actually dates back, though, to 1923.
Yeah, Lottie Reiniger and her husband Carl Koch, they had like multi-planes of glass.
Yeah, so they were like the first people to kind of come up with this idea of having the multiplane. Ub Iwerks, actually, who worked for Disney, famous Disney animator. Actually, I did not realize this. He temporarily left Disney to start like his own studio in the 30s, and he actually worked on and improved this design to create kind of the parallax effect. That's what like this was used for, what animators were trying to get at, where the foreground and the background could kind of move independently of each other. So that's the parallax effect, when like something closer to you is moving faster than something farther away.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't that just like when you're shifting perspectives, it's where things like they also what am I trying to say, like
they shift in different
it's like your phone does it, phone does it, but like
it's the speed and the perspective of things. So something, if you think about it, like if you're driving down the road,
something closer to you is going to move faster than something further away.
And the kind of example that like they have this in the archives. They had this at the like the Disney 100 exhibition. It was like Walt explaining the multiplane camera. It was a scene in which there was a moon in the background, and you were kind of like moving. And under traditional animation, as you were moving closer, the entire scene would enlarge at the same scale. So the moon would get really big in the same way the building in front of you would get really big. But that's not what happens in real life. Like the moon doesn't get huge as you walk closer to it. So the multiplane camera allowed them to have that effect where, they had a barn in front of you, that got a lot closer, but the moon kind of stayed roughly the same size because it's so far away, it's not going to expand. So that was kind of like the big thing with this and what animators were pushing. Walt Disney, so they ultimately created a much more advanced version. So this is kind of where, okay, maybe Walt didn't have the original idea and there are other people working on it, but Walt's multiplane camera was what was the most advanced version and was what kind of revolutionized animation and the adoption of this at the time. Their version that Disney had actually used 7 different layers and took a dozen people to operate. He used it on Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. That's what they created it for. It was actually first used in 1937 on the Silly Symphony, the Old Mill. That was kind of just a test of the multiplane camera, and then actually won an Academy Award. Snow White was what they were creating it for. They use it on basically all of the Disney movies, after that. So like Pinocchio, Fantasia, Peter Pan, The Jungle Book, all of those movies used it. Actually, The Little Mermaid used the multiplane camera as well. It was the last Disney animated movie to use the multiplane camera. So this went from the 30s all the way, what was Little Mermaid, 1989. So
I believe
it had a very long run. But again, this really changed animation because before this, it was very costly and difficult to have these tracking shots, to have the background, the depth of the animation, what the animators were trying to do in terms of advance the medium. And this allowed them to, again, just look at Disney animation. All of these movies are classics that are still played today. I don't know of many other animated movies that came out in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s that we still know or talk about today. And it's because they had this advanced technology that allowed them to do things that looked so much more realistic and were just so much more compelling and captivating to people that they still, stand up and withstand the test of time. Want even more Disney history and to hear the rest of the inventions that changed the company forever? Watch the full episode here, and we'll see you here next time.